I inherited the most worthless piece of the Carter family estate, or at least that's what my brothers thought. 50 acres of dusty soil and weathered fence posts, while they got the investment portfolios, luxury properties, and our father's thriving business empire. Perfect for you, Michael, James smirked during the will reading, his Italian soup probably worth more than my entire year's income. You always did like playing in the dirt. William, my other brother, didn't even try to hide his amusement. Maybe you can grow organic carrots or whatever it is you studied in college. I sat quietly, letting their mockery wash over me. They'd never understood why I chose agricultural science over business school, why I preferred working the land to working the stock market. But Grandpa Thomas had understood. He was the only one who ever did. The lawyer cleared his throat, clearly uncomfortable with their behavior. The farm property includes all structures, equipment, and mineral rights as specified in the original deed from 1952. Mineral rights? William scoffed. The only minerals in that soil are the ones Michael will need to buy to grow his little vegetables. I thought about the last conversation I had with Grandpa Thomas, just 2 weeks before he passed. He called me to his study. Not the modern office where he met with business people, but the old room filled with maps and geological surveys that my brothers used to call his crazy room. Michael, he'd said, his voice weak but his eyes sharp as ever. You're the only one who sees it. Sees what, Grandpa? He'd smiled mysteriously, patting my hand. The real value, not the kind that shines and sparkles, but the kind that lasts. Promise me you'll look deeper. I didn't understand his words then. Looking around at the worn farmhouse now, watching my brothers drive away in their luxury cars, I still wasn't sure I did. The farmhouse had been Grandpa's pride and joy before he moved to the city and built his business empire. My father never understood why he kept it, why he didn't sell the land for development like everything else around it. Sentimental old fool, he used to say, not quite quietly enough. That first night alone in the farmhouse, I walked through rooms that hadn't changed since my childhood. The kitchen still had the old wooden table where Grandpa taught me about soil composition. The study still held his collection of geological maps and surveys, gathering dust. I ran my fingers along the spines of his old books, pausing at one that seemed newer than the others. As I pulled it out, an envelope fell to the floor. My name was written on it in Grandpa's shaky handwriting. My heart pounding, I opened it carefully. Dear Michael, if you're reading this, you've inherited the farm just as I planned. Your father and brothers never understood its value. They see worth only in things that glitter and shine, in stock certificates and concrete towers. But you, my boy, you have always seen deeper. Remember the summers you spent here with me? How you asked about the strange equipment in the barn? The tests I used to run? It wasn't just an old man's hobby, Michael. There's a safe behind a photograph of the farm in my study. The combination is the year your grandmother and I bought this land. Inside, you'll find everything you need to understand what lies beneath the surface. Look deeper, Michael. Much deeper. Love, Grandpa Thomas. My hands trembling slightly, I walked to the large photograph I'd passed 1,000 times, an aerial view of the farm from 1952. Behind it, just as the letter said, was a wall safe. 1952. The safe clicked open. Inside was a stack of papers, geological surveys, and test results. On top was a map of the farm with areas marked in red ink. As I started reading, my eyes widened. This couldn't be right. I checked the dates, the data, the calculations, but there was no mistake. The next morning, I was in the barn before dawn, taking inventory of Grandpa's strange equipment, specialized testing gear I now recognize from my studies, equipment that had nothing to do with farming. James called around noon, his voice dripping with fake concern. Just checking in, little brother. Found any valuable carrots yet? I looked down at the soil analysis results in my hand. No carrots, James, just getting settled in. Listen, he said, his tone shifting to business. William and I have been talking. That land would make a great location for a luxury housing development. We're willing to offer you a fair price. More than fair, really, considering it's just worthless dirt. I thought about the papers from Grandpa's safe, about the secret he kept for decades while building his fortune in other ways. Thanks, but I think I'll hold on to it. Don't be stupid, Michael. What are you going to do with 50 acres of nothing? I smiled, though he couldn't see it. I'm going to look deeper. He scoffed. What's that supposed to mean? Just something Grandpa used to say. Give my best to William. I hung up before he could respond, looking out over the fields my brothers thought were worthless. Grandpa was right, they never did understand real value. They saw this place as 50 acres of dirt and weeds. They didn't know about the test results, about what the specialized equipment had found. They hadn't seen the geological survey showing what lay hundreds of feet beneath the surface. They didn't understand why Grandpa had been so insistent on keeping the mineral rights, why he'd spent decades quietly buying up surrounding properties through shell companies. Walking back to the barn, I passed the old well that hadn't worked in years. The one Grandpa always said was special. Pulling off the cover, I lowered a testing probe, one of many pieces of equipment I found carefully preserved in the barn. The readings confirmed what the papers in the safe had shown. What Grandpa had discovered decades ago but kept secret, waiting for the right moment, the right person. My phone buzzed. William this time. James told me you're being difficult about the land. Come on, Michael. Be reasonable. What could that worthless dirt possibly be good for? I looked at the test results again, then at the stack of mineral rights documents and geological surveys from the safe. My agricultural science degree had taught me more than just growing carrots. It had taught me about soil composition, mineral deposits, and what certain formations meant. You know, William, I said carefully, maybe you're right. Maybe I should have it professionally surveyed, see what it's really worth. Now you're talking sense. I'll send over our development team. No need. I cut him off. I think I'll handle it myself. Wouldn't want to waste your valuable time on worthless dirt. I ended the call and went back to studying Grandpa's papers. The longer I read, the more I understood why he'd chosen me to inherit the farm. Not because I was the youngest or the least successful or because he felt sorry for me, but because I was the only one who would know what to do with what he'd found. The only one who would understand the true value of what lay beneath this worthless soil. My brothers had their mansions and sports cars, their investment portfolios and business empires. But Grandpa had left me something far more valuable, if you knew where to look. And I was about to start digging. 6 months can change everything. I stood at the edge of what used to be Grandpa's old cornfield, watching as the drilling equipment pierced deeper into the earth. The team of geologists I'd hired were huddled around their monitors, confirming what Grandpa had discovered decades ago. Mr. Carter, Dr. Peterson called out, waving me over. These readings, they're even better than your initial survey suggested. I nodded, thinking of Grandpa's detailed notes. How much better? We're looking at one of the largest lithium deposits in North America. The concentration levels are unprecedented. Lithium, the essential element for electric vehicle batteries, phones, laptops, and the entire green energy revolution. Grandpa had discovered it back in the 1980s, long before the world realized how valuable it would become. He kept it secret, quietly buying up surrounding properties through shell companies, securing mineral rights, waiting for the right moment, not for himself, but for whoever would understand its true value. My phone buzzed. James again. My brothers had been calling constantly since the drilling equipment arrived. Michael, what the hell are you doing? The neighbors say there's heavy machinery all over the property. Just some geological surveys, I said calmly, trying to understand my inheritance better. Listen, his voice turned smooth, persuasive. William and I have been talking. We'll double our offer for the land. Whatever you're planning, we can help make it more profitable. I watched as another core sample was brought up, rich with the distinctive mineral deposits. I appreciate the offer, James, but I think I can handle it. Don't be stubborn, you're just a farmer. Actually, I cut him off. I'm a geological engineer who specializes in mineral extraction and sustainable land management. But you never bothered to ask what I studied besides playing in the dirt, did you? Silence. Have a good day, James. Give my best to William. 3 days later, they showed up unannounced. I was reviewing contracts in Grandpa's old study when I heard the crunch of tires on gravel. Their matching Mercedes SUVs looked comically out of place next to my dusty pickup truck. James stepped out first, designer shoes immediately coating with dust. William followed, already sweating in his expensive suit. This has gone far enough, James announced as they barged into the house. What are you doing with our family's land? My land, I corrected him mildly. Grandpa left it to me, remember? along with all mineral rights and development privileges. About that, William pulled out a folder. We've had our lawyers review the inheritance. There might be some grounds for challenging. I held up a hand. Before you waste any more of your lawyer's time, you might want to see this. I handed them the preliminary survey results. They read in silence, their faces growing increasingly pale. This can't be right, James stammered. Lithium deposits of this size would be worth billions. I finished for him. About 30 billion according to current market rates. More once extraction begins. William sank into a chair. Grandpa knew. He discovered it 40 years ago, back when you were both too busy mocking him for keeping this worthless farm to notice what he was actually doing out here. I pulled out more papers from Grandpa's safe. He spent decades preparing, buying surrounding land through shell companies, securing water rights, even developing environmentally sustainable extraction methods. He just needed someone who would understand how to use it properly. We're family, James said quickly. We should develop this together. Like you developed the shopping mall that bankrupted half the local businesses, I asked. Or the golf course that drained the county's water supply? They had the grace to look uncomfortable. Grandpa watched how you handled the family business, I continued. Your focus on quick profits over sustainability. That's why he left you the parts of his empire that were already built, and left me the part that needed to be developed responsibly. What are you saying? William demanded. I'm saying I've already formed partnerships with 3 major electric vehicle manufacturers. The extraction facility will be entirely sustainable, powered by solar and wind energy. We'll be providing jobs to the local community both abandoned for the city. I stood up, walking to the window. And the best part, the farming operation continues. Grandpa's sustainable agriculture research wasn't just a cover, it was part of the plan. The lithium extraction will happen deep underground while the surface remains productive farmland. You can't just cut us out, James protested. We're businessmen, we have connections. Your connections mean nothing here. The mineral rights are mine, the permits are approved, and the contracts are signed. Though I'm sure your lawyers can waste a lot of time and money trying to challenge it. William's face had turned an interesting shade of red. You planned this, all those months of playing the humble farmer. No, I cut him off. Grandpa planned this. I just proved him right about which of his grandchildren could be trusted with his real legacy. They left an hour later, after their threats and attempted bribes had run dry. I watched their expensive cars disappear down the dusty road, kicking up clouds behind them. My phone buzzed. A text from Emily, the environmental engineer I'd been working with on the extraction facility design. Final permits approved. We can begin construction next week. I walked out to the old well where it had all started. The testing equipment was gone now, replaced by state-of-the-art monitoring systems. Soon, this quiet farm would help power the world's transition to clean energy, all while keeping the land productive and healthy. Just as Grandpa had dreamed. 1 month later, I stood on the podium at the groundbreaking ceremony. Local news crews crowded around as I announced the Carter Sustainable Resources Initiative, a project that would bring thousands of jobs and millions in tax revenue to the community. James and William watched from the back, their faces unreadable. They'd given up on legal challenges after their lawyers reviewed Grandpa's ironclad documentation. Now they had to watch as their farmer brother unveiled a multi-billion-dollar operation. After the ceremony, I found a quiet moment to visit Grandpa's grave on the hill overlooking the farm. The wind rustled through the corn that still grew tall around the construction site. You were right, Grandpa, I said softly. The real value isn't in what shines and sparkles. It's in looking deeper. My phone buzzed, another text from Emily. The first test bore had hit the main lithium deposit exactly where Grandpa's surveys had predicted. His calculations, 40 years old, had been perfect. I smiled, remembering all those summers he spent teaching me about soil composition, mineral formations, and the importance of patience. While my brothers played with their expensive toys, I was learning lessons worth billions. Looking out over the farm, I could see the future taking shape. Solar panels would soon line the southern fields, powering the extraction facility hidden underground. The northern pastures would remain agricultural land, proving that progress doesn't have to destroy what came before. A true legacy isn't just about money, it's about understanding value that others can't see. My brothers had inherited the glittering surface of Grandpa's empire. But I had inherited its foundation, the part that would shape the future. They thought they'd gotten the best of the inheritance, But Grandpa knew better. He gave them what they wanted, but he gave me what the world would need. As the sun set over the cornfields, casting long shadows across the construction site, I couldn't help but smile. Sometimes the most valuable things really do lie beneath the surface, whether it's lithium deposits or the quiet wisdom of an old man who saw the future in a patch of worthless dirt. My brothers had their mansions and their luxury cars. But I had something better, a chance to build something lasting, something that mattered. Just like Grandpa always knew I would. After all, the best revenge isn't about getting even. It's about proving them wrong in ways they never saw coming, even if they have to dig really, really deep to understand it.